You ever feel like no matter how much you eat or lift, you just can't seem to put on muscle? See, most people fall into one of two categories. They either say that they're naturally fat and they just can't seem to lose fat, or they're naturally skinny and they just can't put on muscle. Now, I personally fall into the second category where if I stop eating or training for as little as a week, I lose muscle mass fast. If you can relate to that, I've got 5 tips in this video that I guarantee will help you pack on muscle. Now, I'm not a huge guy, but I've competed in a lot of high-level sports and done pretty well. I ran track in college, I've done endurance races like the Ironman triathlon, I've competed in bodybuilding and powerlifting and done some MMA, and all of those things combined, the hardest thing to date has been packing on muscle. So tip number 1 is to track your calories. You guys knew this one was coming, but it is one of the absolute most important things you can do. If you're one of those guys that's saying, I'm eating all the time and I just can't put on weight, I want you to know exactly how much you're eating. It's kind of hard to track your calories and your macros at first, but 2 perfect tools for doing this and making sure that you're eating enough are MyFitnessPal Premium and Eat This Much. Those are 2 applications that you can download on your phone for free and start tracking your macros, gathering grocery lists, getting recipes, and they'll actually put meal plans together for you that fit your macros. So for the first 7 days after this video, I want you to track what you eat every single day and make sure that you're actually hitting both your macros and your calories. As long as you hit your macros, your calories will be fine. If you're not eating enough, you're just simply not providing your body the nutrients that it needs, and it's really hard to tell if you're a skinny guy with a fast metabolism if you're actually eating enough. I personally have a really hard time getting in my calories because most of the time I'm just not hungry. I've never been someone that has a hard time not eating. I'm actually the opposite. So to find your calories, there's tons of free calculators online. You'll put in your age, your weight, how active you are, or you can find a watch, a Fitbit, or a Whoop that will tell you how many calories you're burning, and then start by adding 400 to 500 calories to that on a daily basis. Once you have your calorie count, I want you to multiply your body weight by 1.2 grams. That's going to give you the amount of grams that you need every day in protein. Once you have that number, you're gonna plug that into MyFitnessPal or Eat This Much, and it should be roughly 30 to 35% of your total macros. Now, I recommend keeping your fat at about 20%. All that means is that roughly 50% of your calories are gonna come from carbohydrates, 30% of your calories are gonna come from protein, and 20% are gonna come from fats. You can adjust those slightly. MyFitnessPal will help. And Eat This Much will track that on a daily basis. It will spit out meal plans for you, give you recipes, and even give you a grocery list of the things that you need to buy. I'm not even going to talk about supplements because the only supplements I use are Thorne Creatine. It's a very, very clean supplement company with third-party testing. And then I add vitamins and electrolytes and things like that. I've previously done whey protein shakes, but the problem is I was supplementing those instead of food, instead of adding it on top of meals. So go to MyFitnessPal, plug in your 50, 30, 20, adjust that protein intake by the 1.2 grams per pound of body weight, and that is your meal plan for the next 2 weeks. The last thing I recommend is just to make sure that you're eating the same thing every day. It's really difficult for you to go out and eat and track how much protein you've had, or carbs, or whatever. Just make sure that you're eating the same thing every day. It makes it really easy to know that your meals are the same, you have to cook the same thing, you have to eat the same thing to hit your goal, and then you'll start to realize how many grams relative size something might be. In other words, an egg is 4 to 6 grams of protein, a chicken breast of a certain size is a certain amount of grams, fish, steak. You'll start to really realize the relative size of something and the amount of protein or carbohydrate that it has. It just makes things easier. So to recap, count your calories, use the apps, get enough protein, stay consistent. Tip number 1. Number 2 is pick one goal. Number 2 is not only good for fitness, it's good for life. For the next 12 weeks, I want you to pick one goal to focus on. And since you're working on adding muscle, I recommend that is a power building program. Once you can learn how to say no to other things, to running, which you don't need because you don't want to burn more calories, to rock climbing, to yoga, to MMA, you'll be able to be much more efficient in the gym. So my recommendation is for the next 12 weeks, it's 2 blocks of 6 weeks training, pick a power building program where essentially you're focusing on adding weight to your compound lifts, your squat, bench, deadlift, and maybe press, and then the rest is accessory. For those 12 weeks, you need to be in the gym at least 4 days a week. If you can stay consistent with something like a power building program, I promise you will see gains. All right, y'all, shoulders and triceps workout done, which brings me to number 3, train harder than you think you need to. So one thing I've been doing recently is for each training day, I have one big set that goes to failure. So if I'm squatting, maybe it's the leg press. If I'm doing a back workout, maybe it's my deadlift or heavy rows. And what I'm doing is I'm taking that exercise to absolute failure. Obviously use safeties. Maybe don't do this for something like squats, but if you've got somewhere you can put safeties like bench, or you've got someone that can spot you, that has been the best function for growth in the last 6 weeks for sure. So one big heavy set to complete failure, and the rest is accessory. You don't have to take things to failure. There's actually a lot of research that shows it doesn't help, but pushing that training past where you think you need to be is the best way to grow in the gym. A lot of times I'll get with guys that think they're training really hard and they do one session with me and it's totally different than they've been doing before. And even working with trainers or coaches myself, like when I was a personal trainer, I worked with my other friends who were trainers and coaches, and we each had a different focus and expertise. And it was really easy for us to get complacent and not train as hard as we should. So, train harder than you think you need to. If you think you're at the end, get a few more reps. If you haven't done a big heavy set in your workout, get one big heavy set per workout to complete failure. I promise you'll see gains. Number 4 is to level up. Now, that may seem ridiculous to you guys, but just like choosing one goal, this applies to life as well. When I say level up, what I mean is go be around people that are ahead of you and doing the things that you want to do. Even if that's just going and talking to the big guy at the gym or watching how that person operates, you're going to realize things that you didn't think about yourself. Maybe you can talk to them about macros. Maybe you can talk to them about training methodologies. Maybe you can just get a single set or workout in and push harder than you need to be. Now, whether this is in the gym or whether you're building a business, no matter what it is, you want to be around these people that are a little bit ahead of you. There's studies that show competition increases testosterone. And in a way, being around these people is like being in competition, right? You see these people pushing themselves and growing, and you can learn from them, but you can also hype yourself up to move up a level yourself. If you're watching these videos, you're already working on leveling up, on training harder, on just being a better version of yourself. And because of that, we're dropping these new lift heavy, drink coffee t-shirts with code SKINNY. You'll get 10% off. So go to neverrest.com. The link is below, along with the links for every other resource in this video. Drop in code SKINNY at checkout and you'll get 10% off the Lift Heavy Drink Coffee t-shirts. On to our last tip, number 5. Deal number 5 is to subscribe to Never Rest. I mean, I'm just kidding. You should subscribe, but number 5 is to sleep more. Now, you might be thinking, why is Never Rest telling us to sleep? Well, if I could go back in all my years of being a competitive athlete, trying to build businesses, trying to study and get my degree in a pre-med track, the one thing I wish I did more was sleep enough every night. There's books like Why We Sleep. There's tons of research and lots of studies done on the lack of sleep and what it does to your body and all of the reasons that we need sleep to recover. So if you're trying to get more done and not sleeping, you're going to be suffering. In college, I remember having friends that could sleep 4 hours a night and study and maybe party once in a while and get by, but they weren't training. They weren't going to the gym, they weren't running, and they for sure weren't Division I athletes. And so trying to keep up with them and trying to keep up on the track and trying to lift and all those other things were really detrimental to my success. Now, once you go to the gym and you tear everything down, the best thing for your body is to get 8 hours of sleep per night. It allows your body to recuperate and rebuild everything that you just tore down and actually have that protein synthesis happen and allow those muscles the chance to rebuild themselves. Now, you might be thinking that you actually can get more done if you're sleeping less because you have more time. But what happens is your body raises cortisol and tons of other stress hormones because it's not getting the sleep it needs. You build up this sleep debt and you have a hard time dealing with people and you have a hard time remembering and processing things. So not only is it detrimental to your success in the gym, it's detrimental to everything else that you do. I personally am in bed for at least 8 hours. I go to bed and then I get up 8 hours later. And that may be a little less than 8 hours of sleep, but I know if I'm in bed for that long, I can deal with people. I'm faster at work, I'm faster editing these videos, I'm faster creating content, and sometimes the truth is we just can't get 8 hours. But for these next 12 weeks, your one goal should be to focus on adding muscle. If you really want to do that, follow these 5 tips for the next 12 weeks, get some shit done, never rest.